There was once a humble boy named Aaron, who lived in a quiet village surrounded by rivers, hills, and endless green fields. Every morning, he carried 2 baskets across the shallow river to fetch water for his master, an old wise monk who lived atop a hill. One basket was strong and perfect, while the other was cracked and leaked water along the way. Aaron often felt ashamed because no matter how hard he tried, he could only deliver 1.5 baskets of water each trip. The perfect basket mocked the cracked one, saying, "Look at me, I always deliver my share. You're useless, broken, and a burden." And deep inside, Aaron began to agree. Day after day he scolded himself, thinking he wasn't good enough, that no matter how hard he tried, he would always fail. One day, exhausted and defeated, Aaron sat by the riverbank and confessed his sorrow to the old monk. "Master, I am not worthy. 1 basket leaks and I waste so much effort. I feel like I'm failing you." The monk looked at him calmly, smiled, and asked, "Child, have you ever noticed the flowers along your path?" Confused, Aaron looked back at the path he always walked. To his surprise, it was lined with bright, colorful flowers swaying gently in the breeze. The monk explained, "I knew about the crack in your basket all along, so I planted seeds on your side of the path, and each day as you walked, your leaking basket watered them. Now look at the beauty it created." Tears filled Aaron's eyes as he realized the lesson. Sometimes what we see as weakness, failure, or imperfection can become the very reason beauty exists in the world. His cracked basket was not a flaw, it was a gift. The monk then said softly, "Empty your mind." Aaron stopped filling it with fear, shame, and comparison. When your mind is full of negativity, there is no space for growth. Only when you empty it can you see your true purpose. From that day, Aaron no longer looked at himself as broken. He began to walk with pride, knowing that even the cracks within him could water seeds of greatness. Aaron had grown into a young man, and the boy who once struggled with cracked baskets was no longer the same uncertain soul who doubted his worth at every turn, yet in his heart, shadows of doubt still lingered, waiting to return when he least expected them. For the truth is that no matter how far we journey, the mind always finds new ways to test us, new ways to whisper that perhaps we are still not enough. And so it was with Aaron. He had taken up the responsibility of teaching children in his village, telling them stories of patience, humility, and the lessons of the cracked basket. And though the children adored him, though their parents praised his wisdom, Aaron often sat alone at night by the river and wondered whether he truly deserved such respect, whether he was fit to guide others when he himself was still learning, still stumbling, still wrestling with invisible battles inside his own mind. One evening, as the golden sun sank into the horizon and painted the sky in shades of fire and tenderness, Aaron sat by the silent river, its surface smooth like glass, reflecting the heavens above so clearly that he felt as if he were staring into another world. And he whispered to himself, "How can I teach others when I am still broken, still uncertain, still afraid?" The old monk, his teacher, appeared beside him, walking silently as he always did, and he too sat by the river, gazing at its calm expanse before speaking softly. "Aaron, do you see how still the water is? It mirrors the sky perfectly, showing every cloud, every color, every ray of light. But look now." The monk picked up a small stone and tossed it gently into the water, and ripples spread across the surface, breaking the reflection into fragments that shimmered and scattered. And then the monk asked, "What do you see now?" Aaron frowned, replying, "I see a broken reflection, distorted, unclear, not true to what lies above." The monk nodded, his eyes filled with kindness. "Exactly, my child, this river is like your mind. When it is still, it reflects truth clearly. But when it is disturbed, when filled with worries, doubts, and fears, the truth becomes distorted, just as the reflection has. So tell me, how can you see your purpose when your mind is filled with noise?" These words struck Aaron deeply, for he realized that much of his pain came not from the world, but from within, from the endless stream of thoughts that never ceased, thoughts of not being enough, thoughts of failure, thoughts that chained him to illusions of weakness. He asked, almost in desperation, "But Master, how do I still the river of my mind? How do I silence the endless ripples?" The monk smiled, pointing to the horizon. "By emptying it. Do not fight the ripples, do not chase them. Simply let them pass. A river does not cling to a stone. It lets it sink and returns to stillness. And so must you with your thoughts. Let them come, let them go, and remain empty. For days and weeks, Aaron practiced this teaching, sitting by the river each evening, closing his eyes, listening to the whispers of his doubts, and then letting them drift away like fallen leaves carried downstream. And little by little he felt a lightness within, a quiet strength that did not come from pretending to be perfect but from accepting that imperfection was part of the path. And in time, when he returned to teaching the children, he no longer spoke from the weight of his doubts but from the freedom of his emptiness, sharing not just lessons but his heart, his failures, his cracks, and the children listened with wide eyes, for they did not see a flawless teacher but a human who walked the same struggles. They did, and that made his words real. As the seasons passed, Aaron's story began to spread, carried from village to village, until people traveled great distances to hear him speak, not because he was the most learned, nor because he was the strongest, but because his words came from a river that had been emptied, still and clear, reflecting truth as it was. One day a man asked him, "Aaron, how did you find peace when so many of us are drowning in noise?" And Aaron answered, "By learning that peace is not something you find outside, but something you uncover when you let go of what does not belong inside. When your mind is full, there is no room for wisdom. But when you empty it, wisdom flows naturally, like water filling an empty vessel." And so his life became a living testament that emptiness is not weakness but power, that silence is not absence but presence, and that the cracks within us are not curses but blessings, for they teach us humility, compassion, and the courage to see beauty in imperfection. As Aaron looked back at the path he had walked, from the cracked basket that once shamed him to the river that taught him stillness, he finally understood that the greatest gift he could give the world was not perfection but authenticity, not answers but presence, and above all, not a mind filled with pride but a mind emptied of fear. For in emptiness one becomes full of truth. And so, dear listener, as you walk your own path, remember Aaron's lesson. Remember the cracked basket that watered flowers. Remember the river that reflected truth. And remember that your mind too can become a mirror of clarity, if only you let it empty itself of noise. Let go of the doubts, the comparisons, the endless chatter, and you will discover the quiet strength that has been waiting inside you all along. And if this story touched your heart, if it made you pause and reflect, then join us on this journey by subscribing to Wordy Tales, because together we will continue to explore stories that remind us of who we truly are, stories that water seeds of courage and still the rivers of our restless minds, stories that prove that even in our cracks, even in our doubts, we can find a beauty worth sharing with the world.